TJ, hi, it's nice to see you.
Ashley Schneider. Is this Behind the Laces?
This is Behind the Laces. Welcome. You're in the hot seat. You have, I think, a really interesting story in terms about how you found out about the relay and how you decided to apply. So tell me about that.
So at the time, I was dating this really beautiful girl. Her name is Megan, and her mom happens to be living with MS for the last 35 or 36 years. I got to thinking, because her mom's name is Carol, and Carol's dependent on other people for help and can't walk and is in a wheelchair. So she spends the majority of her time around her house. And I really enjoyed running, like shorter runs, like 5Ks and 10Ks, and probably like a half marathon is my favorite distance. Anything beyond that is a stretch for me. So I just got the idea of, and I probably came across something online with like running wheelchairs for adults. And I ended up getting one and would do, short runs with her, which was, it was really enjoyable for her and for me, and her perspective just of going down her block and, not having walked or been at that level or in that kind of way. Like when she goes down the block, it's usually in her wheelchair van, and here I'm able to like push her around the neighborhood, and just she sees the world in a different way. So then I thought, it'd be really cool to do a 5K like MS based race with her. So I started looking for races online, and we found a 5K in Philly, which was a lot of fun. It was fun passing people with the wheel or the wheelchair. And she was like smack talking everybody, like, get out of the way. I was like, oh, don't mind her. She's just trying to kick your butt. But so it was a lot of fun. And like one of the top things that came up was MS Run the US. And it, the concept is, it's not something you can like wrap your head around really quick. So I did a little bit of investigating at that time, and we were able to pull off meeting the segment 19 runner that year, Jamie Weiss, and we coordinated like where she was going to be on her segment and the timing, which was like a little bit of logistics. And it was a little bit of logistics getting Carol like there, because it was early in the morning because it was hot. So it was like, I don't know, 6:30 in the morning. And here comes Jamie running down these back roads in New Tripoli. And I'm like, I've never met her before, met anybody from the organization. I was like, hey, and I had Carol with me in the running wheelchair. And we ended up running, we did 6 miles along her stretch. After like that morning was really just awesome to like be a part of it, just for like brief hour, this one tiny part of this huge effort that's going on for this awesome cause. That planted the seed, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do that as somebody who doesn't like running more than a half marathon.
It was so fun talking with you too when you submitted that application because, and we talked about this as well, I started pushing my mom in we called it her chariot. And those are some of my favorite races, pushing her. I think I pushed her to 3rd place in her age group one time, and we got this cool like medal thing for it, and was super pumped about that. So having her experience that athletic experience of a race that she hadn't done in, I don't know, probably 30, 35 years. By that point, she hadn't been able to do any of those things since I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. So to be able to push her and to be a part of that. And she was so happy. She'd like wave at people. So when you talked about Carol and why you wanted to do it and wanting to do it for her, and you and I even talked about like logistics of could you push Carol across like along the course for some portions of it. It definitely like hit home, and I was like, all right, we gotta see if we can make this work. So tell me about your virtual segment, and then tell me about Megan's hand in it, because that is a huge part of what your experience was like last year.
All three of us, Megan, Carol, and I, were really disappointed when we couldn't do the actual segment. And we were like back and forth. I wanted to do the actual segment, even though it was virtual, but just the logistics of that weren't like panning out. So one of the most important things for us last year was that the virtual event would be fun and it would be about awareness, like period, fun and awareness. We were just trying to figure out what's the event we could do that would be flexible to get the most people involved in the context of all these limitations with the pandemic that were going on. So at some point we said, you know, the shorter the distance and the more kind of controlled the space, the more accessible it is for somebody to drop in and participate in some way, whether it's running some of it or just supporting, or if like Carol was there, just saying hi to Carol or supporting Carol. So a half mile from our house is this small township park that has a 1 mile loop around the circumference of it. So it's a 1 mile loop, and I decided to see how many times I could run this loop over the same amount of time. So 6 days was the original segment. I did this for 6 days. My original goal was to do 15 miles a day, which is, you know, significantly less than the actual segment. But by this time, just with the way everything was going on, my training had like dropped down a little bit, and I would have been able to pull off the 25 a day. It was so cool how it worked out, because so I did this one loop 100 times. And most people would probably think like that has to get boring or monotonous, but for 95 of the 100 laps, I had like somebody different running with me. It was just so motivating. If I didn't have that, I don't think I would have been able to do it that way, you know, the same loop, or even 100 miles, even if it wasn't the same loop, just because of where I was at with training. But it was really cool. And some people, you know, brought their dogs or rode their bike. So Megan was like behind the scenes organizing this. And then at race time, she was like keeping track of all the laps and like helping coordinate with everybody. So I think her job was harder than my job of running the 100 miles. Her job, it was more exhausting, probably trying to keep track of all those laps and just help coordinate everything. And then for the last lap, we had Carol in her chariot, and one of my buddies and the township chief of police ran the last lap with us, and we came across this exciting finale of a finish line complete with fireworks and fire trucks and local law enforcement, and it was cool. It was really cool for all three
really
of us.
Cool.
Yeah. It was really cool. Honestly, like watching it from afar, it was so fun to see. I mean, it was just day after day of pictures of people running with you, everybody smiling. I saw the tally board that Megan had that was keeping track of all the miles. And then the last finish day, you know, it wasn't just like, you know, it was like people lined this pathway that you finished, and it was so cool to watch. Now we're doing the live event. So in comparison, what are you looking most forward to when it comes to thinking about doing your actual segment this year?
I'm just looking forward to the adventure. Like I feel like I can't even really mentally prepare for it, just because I've never done anything like it. So I'm excited to like be on the road with Megan and the race crew. We have our own camper, so the crew will be a little more spaced out, and I'll have my own space, which will be more comfortable compared to some of the segment runners that are, having to adapt in that way. I'm excited to run across Pennsylvania just as my home state and see the state in a different way and, represent Pennsylvania.
I'll remind you of that when it's happening. When you're like, didn't you say you were excited and
looking forward to running across Pennsylvania?
Yeah, there's some hills across this stretch.
It is one of the harder states. Not only the hills, which I would say probably lean more towards mountain because of the Appalachians, and they are stretches of miles uphill and downhill. But the heat is a huge factor. So being on top of nutrition and knowing kind of how to keep moving forward when you have heat oppressing you is going to be something that is you'll be mentally prepared for at the time, but it'll be definitely a part of the experience. Now, nutrition wise, do you what's your game plan that you follow when you're running the actual big miles in training? What have you done nutrition wise?
Yeah, I'm usually having some kind of intake every 3 miles, whether it's electrolyte hydration or electrolyte hydration in combination with like carbohydrates or other energy sources. It's probably like one of the weaker areas of my running game that I need to tune up for this. I don't have the best track record with nutrition and long runs, so.
Do you have a fail? Do you have a nutrition or long run fail that you?
I have a terrible fail. So my first marathon attempt was our local marathon. It's pretty flat, but it was hot for the time of the year. It was in the fall, but it was pretty hot. And I hit that half marathon mark, halfway through the marathon. I'm like, I feel good. This is going great. And my mindset was like, if I do like Gatorade every 6 miles or Gatorade at 6 miles, water at 12 miles, I thought that was enough, power through the long distance or whatever. So, you should never do what I just said. And
no, that's why I'm like, you cannot power through your segment. So give me the dirt so I can figure out what your nutrition plan is.
So everybody talks about the mile 20 wall. If you've ever had like a really bad like leg cramp or like your calf tightens up and you can't like loosen it up, essentially that's like what my whole body felt like. So at mile 20, I had drank some water and I was feeling sick and I was like crouched over because I thought I was going to throw up. My entire abdomen like cramped the same way like your calf would cramp or another muscle. So I cramped in this like fetal position in a way that I couldn't straighten up. So I was like cramped and I was like leaning on the ground in this real awkward way, like trying to look like I was okay to all the people that were around me. But I couldn't move. I couldn't straighten up. So then I like fell on my side and I had to just like wait a couple minutes until it just loosened up so I could stand up. But I was in bad shape after that. I got like sick later that day and I was out of commission for the next couple days. So
well, I'm a stickler on nutrition and training, so so your muscles need fuel, and if we fuel them, then they keep working, as you know. So we will not have that happen during your segment because we will be prepared with nutrition. When I am really looking forward for that. Well, it was really fun chatting with you. I am very excited to see you run across Pennsylvania, and now I have a lot of ammo to remind you of things to keep moving forward. But I love your heart for the cause. I love your story with Carol, and congratulations to you and Megan using MS Run the US to lock in, the girl that you were in love with. So there you go. I'm Ashley Schneider, Executive Director of MS Run the US. Thank you so much for watching our videos, and make sure to subscribe so you can get our latest uploads.